But from the right atrium, we have the right ventricle, which is also on top here. I'm going to open that guy up. What did you say? So the brown stuff's kind of muscle. So you see this? So see how much brown stuff's on here compared to here?
Yeah, you said I have our muscles on the top.
Exactly. So our ventricles got a lot of muscle. So atrium, not really so much muscle. Ventricle, a lot of muscle. See this kind of plastic thing here? So what do you guys think this is? Valve. Awesome. So this is going to be our, which valve is this one? It's on the right side.
Tricuspid.
Good. Exactly. So this is our tricuspid valve. Awesome. Tricuspid. Okay. So this is our tricuspid valve. Now our right ventricle, he's going to be pumping. Where is he pumping to? He's pumping to the lungs. And how does he get to the lungs? All right, awesome. So he's going to the pulmonary artery. So my blood's going to go through here, into the right atrium, into the right ventricle, right? And then he's going to pump up to the pulmonary artery. And the pulmonary artery and the aorta look really funky. So I'm going to go, I know. So here, see this little arrow, if you guys can see it? I'm going to try to bring it around. There's a little arrow here.
Yeah.
So that's where the pulmonary artery is. So you see this vessel here with the blue? So this is my pulmonary artery. So I'm going to close it back up. Right atrium is going to go in the right ventricle, and here's the pulmonary artery here. Does that kind of make sense where that is?
Yeah.
Okay. Pulmonary artery is going to go over to the lungs. He's going to come back from the lungs via the pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein is going to be interesting because we actually have 4 pulmonary veins. I know, isn't that crazy? We have 1 pulmonary artery, but we have 4 pulmonary veins. The 4 pulmonary veins are going to flow into our left atrium. Now, I said that the right atrium is going to be on the front side, right? Left atrium is all the way in the back. So I can open this guy here, and this kind of will show you the view of the left atrium. The left atrium is kind of tucked in all the way into the back here. And you can actually see these kind of 4 little holes here. So these are the 4 pulmonary veins here, and they're going to be flowing into the left atrium back here. Now, from the left atrium, we're going to be going into the left ventricle. Okay. See how the left ventricle is kind of sitting on the bottom of the heart here?
Yeah.
All right, so it goes into the left ventricle. We have another plastic thing, which is going to be our bicuspid valve. Awesome. Perfect. Now, do you guys see how much, remember, we were talking about this brown stuff. Do you guys see how much more brown stuff's on here, even compared to the right ventricle?
It seems like it does more work. It does a lot of work.
Exactly. So he's going to be our major worker, is this left ventricle. So he's going to have a ton of muscle. Now he's going to be pumping to the body via the aorta. So he's going to pump up to the aorta. See where my finger's going? Up here. And so our aorta, so we had our pulmonary valve here, and the aorta, interestingly enough, is tucked up over here. So see how it's kind of twisted a little bit? Sure. So see here is our left ventricle. And we kind of have, it goes through here. And see here, there's a little bit of, see those kind of round circle things here? So this is going to be our aortic valve. It's pumping through to the aorta. It's kind of hard to tell from here. I'll give you guys some pictures to show. But it's going to be coming up to the aorta. So this guy here, on that one here, is our aorta. And I'll try to show you guys some pictures on there.
Does the size of the vein, that's on the back of the heart, does they matter?
The size of the veins?
Yeah, because they vary. Like some of them are bigger.
It can vary for persons. Usually you kind of have a standard size, but it actually, like with little babies, you can kind of have different size veins and it can be. So that's a great question. Oh, sorry.
So is everybody's aorta like curved like that?
Everybody's aorta, hopefully, should work like that. You want everybody's aorta to be like
If
that.
you have an heart muscle, how does that affect
So, that's a great question. If it's like, so somebody says that you have a big heart muscle. Sorry.
Just ignore it.
Okay, so when somebody says that you have a big heart, what that means is you just kind of have a lot more muscle, kind of by these ventricles, have a lot more muscle. And that means that you're really good at pumping, but when you have a lot of muscle, it can be harder for your heart to relax. Does that make sense? So like, so it's harder for it to kind of relax and fill with blood.
Is it possible for your heart to be outside the sternum?
For your heart to be outside the sternum? That, probably not, no. That would not be a good thing. So when you go into cardiac arrest, that's a good question. And you guys will talk a little bit more about cardiac. Now, do you guys know what cardiac arrest is?
No.
All right, good. So cardiac arrest is when your heart stops beating. Okay? So cardiac arrest is when your guy's heart stops beating. The heart can stop beating kind of due to a number of different things. You can go into cardiac arrest because you have kind of one of your coronary arteries blocked. And there's kind of other things that will cause that. It's roughly about the size of your fist. Yeah, more or less. You can say it's like a good approximation.
That depends on the person.
It depends on the person.
So,
Because different people can have different sized hearts, right? So if you're bigger, you're probably going to have a little bit of a bigger heart. Okay, you got your hand.
You know how they say you have like a hole in the heart, like a hole in the heart, how does that affect like the blood flow, what does it?
So that is another really good question. Actually, can you hold that thought? Because I'm going to get to that one in a second.
What is, you know, like, on the show, they be like,
Tachycardia? All right, that's another good question. You guys are really great. So you're going to get into this a little bit tomorrow. So I was telling you guys your heart kind of has a series of where it contracts and relaxes, right? You have a series of contraction, which is systole, relaxation, which is diastole. The rate at which your heart does this, so your heart's going to contract, relax, contract, relax, contract, relax. You know when people talk about your heart rate, right? Mm-hmm. So your heart rate is kind of the rate at which your heart is contracting, relaxing, contracting, relaxing. So it's like how many, in the contracting and the relaxing, bump, bump. That's like, let's say 1 heartbeat, right? Because when you hear the love-dove, that's 1 heartbeat. So 1 series of contraction and relaxation is 1 beat, right? So for a normal person, your heart's going to go through a series of contractions and relaxations. For a normal adult, it can be from 60 beats per minute to 100 beats per minute. Tachycardia is when your heart's beating too fast. So that's when your heart's beating over 100 beats per minute.
and what happens if I go?
When that you're all that adrenaline every day?
When they what?
It's like any adrenaline, like any gang adrenaline.
Your adrenaline rush? Exactly. So like, you know when you guys are playing sports, right? You kind of feel like you get that kind of surge or rush and you kind of feel your heart's fluttering really fast, going really fast. You might not be in tachycardia. You guys can take, have you guys ever taken your heart rate?
Yes.
Right. So like, you can kind of count your heart rate and see if you actually are in tachycardia if you're over 100 beats per minute, but your heart will raise the rate when you're kind of feeling excited or nervous about things. Okay.
Can that affect somebody if they're, like if they're resting heartbeat, tachycardia, can they not eventually die?
So you can probably be in tachycardia for a long time, kind of depending on what's causing the tachycardia. You can have problems with that later, and it's not good for your heart to be in tachycardia for too long because you're stressing the heart out. But you can live in tachycardia for a little bit.
The rate per minute when you check your pulse.
Mhm.
When a newborn baby is born, they have like what 200 something.
Yep, they're higher.
Right. So when older you get, the lesser things were.
Exactly.
Why are they rates so high?
Why are their rates so high? So it's not because they're screaming. So it's kind of, it's probably kind of bit, and we'll kind of get a little bit into this, but it's kind of a little beyond scope right now, but it's probably due to how the heart's kind of developed in these babies. So when you're born, and, you know what, let's shelve that thought. We'll get to that. That's kind of, we'll get to that in a little bit. That's a good question though.
I don't know asthma affects the lungs, but how does asthma also affect the heart?
That's a good question. You guys have great questions. So asthma is mainly going to affect the lungs. And this actually goes with the baby percentage, actually. This is a good question. So when we're talking about the lungs and the hearts, right, with the babies, when you can't get enough oxygen, your heart kind of compensates by beating faster. So when people who have asthma or they're having trouble breathing, you'll notice their heart rate goes up. And the reason why their heart rate goes up is your heart's like, oh man, my body's not getting enough oxygen to these organs. I'm going to have to beat faster to make sure more blood goes there, even though there's less oxygen. So maybe I can get enough blood with oxygen to that place. So that's what happens with the heart. With the babies having faster heart rate, you kind of have an interesting dynamic with your heart and your lungs when you're born. So before you're born, do you have Okay, I'll finish this up. So before you're born, where do you guys get your oxygen from when you're kind of in your mom's womb? So from where? So from mom. So mom's going to be giving you your oxygen, right, when you're born. So you're not using your lungs at all as a baby, right? Not really. So like when you first are born, your heart's going to be kind of using the lungs for the first time. Babies' hearts are smaller. They don't kind of pump as much pressure, right? So because your kind of pressures are going to be a little lower in a baby,
So that makes it easier.
it's going to make it beat faster. Because so your heart pressures are a little lower in a baby, you're going to beat faster to kind of compensate. Does that make sense? Okay.
If the mom is pregnant with the baby and she don't have much oxygen in her body, and that means she can't give it to the baby, she'll die.
Baby can die. That's not a good thing with mom gets enough oxygen. It's accurate.
So if there was a complication with the lungs, could it like affect the heart? Like if you have lung cancer, you could like be pregnant.
Exactly. So if you have problems with your lungs, it will affect your heart. That's a great question. So like when somebody has, like we were asking a little earlier, when somebody has asthma and stuff, that puts a lot of stress on our heart here. So we're not getting enough oxygen, right? So the heart needs oxygen to survive. That's one thing, and it's not being able to pump oxygen out of the body. Also, when people have lung cancer and things like that, they can also kind of disrupt the heart's dynamic.
How does the heart be felt when you get scared?
When you get scared, that is another awesome question. So you know how we're talking about like when you get kind of like that adrenaline rush? Adrenaline, there's like another word in our, we also call it like epinephrine. So you kind of have these hormones, right? When you get scared or you get nervous, called epinephrine or epinephrine. They're kind of like another fancy term for adrenaline, right? And so they kind of feed into your body's nervous system. The nervous system feeds into the heart. You guys will talk a little bit more about this tomorrow. The nervous system will kind of contact the heart and tell the heart to beat faster. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of get these really fast. And if you guys want, I kind of wanted to play Jeopardy with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay? But you're going to have about...
If you want to try your YouTube video, I can see if my password will let it go through.
Okay.
Do you want to try it?
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I also had a video too, so you guys can see this finally in like 3D.
Hey, no
3D. Like a lot of So you guys want, this is like an actual You're gonna try and get you guys to get
Type in HT. You know how they got the instructor? Yeah, try HT.
Everybody knows how to have.
Right. Damage the heart, scar it, or make it before.
Hey guys. Hey guys. So we had a nice